Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a pre-production camera. I don't typically review a lot of cameras, but I wanted to take a look at this one because it's a little bit unique. You see that longer nose and we've got a VTX attached, but one other thing that should draw your attention here on the back, it's very difficult to see, but we've got pads for video in and video out. I've actually got those bridged right now so I could do this little demo. And then this one that's not, does not have any solder on it right up here, that is for smart audio, so we can control our channels. There isn't a name for this from Betaflight yet. They're just calling it a 1200 TV line camera. There is one listed on Banggood from Caddx that looks somewhat similar as far as the VTX goes, but the nose on the images that are shown on the Banggood site is a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the footage. And as you're looking at some of this footage, I have to ask you a question. So if you care to leave a comment, it would sure help me out. So down in the description below, leave your thoughts about the footage that we're seeing in what I'm showing you. And also, let me know if camera testing or sampling like this at a kind of static position is what you prefer, or if you'd rather see flight. I think flight limits us a little bit because, of course, we're in flight, so we can't quite control all the different situations as easily. And that's why I tend to do camera reviews when I do them in this sort of manner, because I can directly point them at the sun and I can cover it up, and we can do that whole how does it handle light thing a lot easier than we can in flight videos. Flight videos give us a little bit more of an advantage because we see how it handles in the flying situations when we're whizzing around different sort of objects. So if you would, please comment down below. You can do that at the end of the video when we're done here, or you can do it now. It's really up to you. And so far, I was fairly impressed with this camera, and you'll be more impressed, I think, when you see the weight, because I initially thought the weight would come in much greater than it is. But it does have one thing that concerns me quite a bit. I have this one LED light that goes into the downstairs, down the steps into the basement, that for some reason the frequency it emits at, it contrasts with this camera quite a bit. So the closer or more direct you get the camera in that light, those black bars that you see are more pronounced. The less direct, then it's a little bit less pronounced. And I have sent that information to BetaFPV, so we could see an improvement there. They may update the camera in some way before it actually launches. Now, you won't find a link to this product down in the description down below because there isn't one currently. But one does become available. I can do that. It's very likely when it goes production that I'll probably do another video, because I do think it's a fairly interesting product, especially when you're looking at whoop size of machines. And this camera itself could be quite useful in a lot of other installations. Say you're going for a 2S build and you want to stay ultra light. This could really help you keep some of that weight down, because I think my personal opinion of this camera is, outside of that LED frequency issue, it operated pretty well. I was fairly impressed. I thought it was much better than the Runcam Nano, which was kind of the first camera like this that we saw that had good light handling, or better light handling than what we're used to. It doesn't have that gigantic wide field of view like we see a lot of all-in-ones. Before we get too much deeper, now that you've seen all the footage, let's go ahead and weigh it up, and I'm going to compare it to the Eachine TX01S. This is one that is used a lot in whoop builds and various natures. I'm not claiming that this one is the best as far as image, but it's just that it's used quite a bit. I think the one that I've heard is the most highly regarded as far as camera VTX combo is from BetaFPV. I believe it's the FX806TC. That one comes in around $29. So I don't know what this is going to cost, but I suspect it's going to be $20-some. I don't know if it'll be closer to 30 or closer to 20. We'll have to wait and see. But again, let's weigh these up. The TX01S comes in just under 4 grams, and the 1200 TV line from BetaFPV comes in at almost 4.5 grams. The weight would be probably quite a bit less in actually installations because of this long wire lead. We definitely wouldn't need all that, and this one has the advantages. It has a much shorter length, but only an extra half a gram. And you look at the cameras, there's a lot more to this 1200 TV line camera as far as the form factor and the length. As far as the boards go, it is a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and measure the board so you can get a good fix on that. I'm getting 14 millimeters here and a touch over 14 millimeters that way too. Camera barrel looks to be about 11.5 millimeters. The entire length looks to be just over 18 millimeters. The length from the base to the end of the lens looks to be just about 12.5 millimeters. The VTX, for good measure, looks like from top to bottom, or in this particular direction. It's about 14 millimeters as well, and 15 in this direction. So now all you 3D printing gurus can get out there and make some Thingiverse files. Again, to sum up, if you missed it, we've got video in and video out, which is bridged here in my particular case for the testing purposes, and then we've also got a smart audio port. And is that a big deal? That's something I need to know, and it's something we can provide feedback from BetaFPV. I think most people would like to have it, but maybe not. And maybe in our case of whoops, we don't have an extra UART to connect it to anyways. So is that a deal breaker? Is the lack of flight controller having an extra UART in order to be able to control the VTX, is that just make it a non-issue to where it's not a feature added or whatever? Please leave a comment on what you think of the various sorts of scenes that I've shown you in the camera and the image reproduction. The house is got a lot of wood, and especially in the evening time, it tends to make most cameras look reddish. But I thought this one did a reasonable job. It wasn't exceptional in that non-reddish feature, but I did think in full light and in general around the house, it reproduced a pretty high quality image, and it is 1200 TV line, or so they say it is, so it should. Also, if you have experience with some of the other cameras, you know, put your own little comparison in the comments down below, and so we can provide that to BetaFPV, and maybe they can tweak it in some way to make it better, or they can pull it from the market if it ever reaches market, and they can redesign and come back with something that will be, you know, a market trendsetter or something of that nature. I'm not for certain this VTX is anything more than 25 milliwatt, so as far as a smart audio and the changing of the channels would be about all we get. I could be wrong in that, but when I asked about the specifications, they didn't give me much, but they did approve the fact that I could do a video on it. I don't know if I can show you this lens, but it really is quite flat on the top. It's kind of hard to give you a real good view. I'm trying to here in the camera. I don't know of another way to show how flat a lens is other than just sticking in the camera and kind of rolling it here so you can see that the lens end doesn't come around. That's really the last thing I can think to show you. If there's something I've missed, please let me know. And also leave those comments down below what you think. Provide some feedback. I'm very interested in doing this sort of things. I love flying indoor, so these sorts of cameras are fairly important to me. I think on the other side of things that most cameras that are CCD or meant for larger quads, they're generally all kind of the same. But I think this is another field where improvements can be made, and I'm glad to see companies revisit these cameras so we can improve our indoor flight experience. Okay, leave those comments down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.